Welcome to the Smart Property Investment Show, the podcast by investors for investors.
G'day, how you going? Phil Tarrant, host of the Smart Property Investment Show. Welcome to our regular chat where we talk about finance, mortgages, the game of finance, and how you can be best prepared to capitalise on market opportunities through being smart about your finance. Way above my pay grade. I don't know much about this sort of stuff, but I know someone that does, and I invite her into the studio every other week to chat through mortgages. Eva Loisance from Finni Mortgages. Eva, how you going?
Good.
Good
How
to
are
see you.
you?
All right.
Yeah.
What's going on? Anything?
Got a good friend here.
Yes.
Today.
So you've actually listened to me for once. No, I don't actually listen to me, but we had a really good chat. If I think back to International Women's Day, and we had a good discussion around the very important role that females play in individually, but also as part of a syndicate, being with a partner in creating wealth through property. And sometimes ladies think a bit differently to blokes, and I'm conscious about that. And typically, or most of the time, ladies think better about things than the guys. But we had a really good chat around that and sort of Mars and Venus and all that sort of stuff. But the outcome of it was we need to get more female guests in the studio.
Yep.
And
here we are.
you've made it happen.
Yeah.
You've had it happen. Welcome, Gizem, Ergel. How you going?
Thank you. Good,
You're
thank
well?
you.
Yeah.
Great to be here.
You've not only really, you've excelled here because we said, let's get more females on the show. Great. And let's also get away with the idea that was to understand the appreciation that Australia is a country of migrants.
Yes.
So you've also brought someone into the show who has chosen to call Australia home and made a life here and has contributed here professionally in your work, but is also realising the benefits of investing in property. So that's really cool. I look forward to the chat today. Welcome.
Yeah, me too. Thank you.
And I didn't know, but you actually tune into the podcast, so that's pretty good as well.
I that's how I learned about property, and develop my knowledge. Yeah, I'm a big podcaster.
So whereabouts are you from?
I'm from Turkey,
Okay.
Istanbul. I moved to Australia 2015. Been here for the last 10 years.
10 years. So what have you been doing for the last 10 years?
Working.
Well, I'm actually have to be working because investing in property, you've got to make some money.
Exactly.
So,
I moved to Australia via work, but before that, I've been here during exchange as an exchange student, and I loved it. So it was always my goal to come back to Australia. And when I got an opportunity, I took it and moved here. Yeah.
So Istanbul, which is, for many people, think it's the capital of Turkey. It's not.
No.
But it's right at the intersection of Europe and Asia. And I think most Australians have an affiliation with Turkey because of our history, and we have great affinity with the Turks.
Mm-hmm.
It's great. Why did you choose Australia to do a semester abroad, was it? Or is it a...
semester abroad.
Which uni were you at in?
UQ, University of Queensland.
Okay, and which university back in Istanbul?
It's called Boğaziçi University.
Okay. And
It's the top university in
I wasn't going to say that. But, and what did you study? Sorry?
Chemical engineering.
Okay, so you studied chemical engineering in a Turkish university and went, I want to go and do a semester abroad, so I'll go to University of Queensland
Yes.
to do chemical engineering.
Yeah, I came for chemical engineering, but it was too intense. So I'm like, I want to enjoy my time here. So I just changed my courses. I did some marketing, a bit of archaeology because I like that topic. And French. Actually, I took a French course. That was my
So you speak French, sort of?
Basic, yeah.
And petit peu.
Yes,
Yeah.
petit peu.
That's good. So you did, how long in Queensland uni did you do?
6 months only.
Okay, then you went back to Turkey.
Yeah, my best friend at the time also came to Australia with me, and she was in Sydney. So when I finished my courses there, I came to Sydney, and we were living in Bondi and having this amazing life. I think that's really made an impact, and I want to go back to that life. But yeah.
What was it? And I always say to people, and particularly people from other parts of the world, is that I can't look at Australia or Sydney through the eyes of someone that hasn't grown up. I grew up in Sydney, right? And I appreciate it. It's a pretty nice place to live. But I can't, have that perspective first time of living in Australia or understanding Australian culture. So it's obviously appealed to you.
Yeah.
Like, what is it? Is it the people? Is it the climate? Is it the...
Everything, yeah. The people, and I like the relaxed approach of people, and don't take things too seriously. Beaches are amazing. I'm into like surfing, and like I love the ocean life, and you can actually earn really good money. Like those combination doesn't happen like many places in the world, and
Is it easier to get ahead in Australia than what it is in
100%.
Yeah,
100%.
and I hear that a lot.
Yeah.
You know, my wife's
Mm-hmm.
English, but I hear a lot from people also from other parts of England and Europe in general that you can actually move the needle quite quickly in Australia, whereas back in home countries in Europe and stuff, it's a bit more structured. It's a little bit more regimented. It's a lot more people.
Yeah.
It's actually harder to change your position.
Yeah, my husband is actually from Belgium, and we thought about going back to Europe significantly when we had the child to get some help. But then we did that assessment. When we were there, we actually talked to the companies and like understand like what we can earn, like how much the house costs and all these things. But like there is nothing similar to Australia. Like even when you go up in the like corporate companies, actually what you earn is really similar to what the hairdresser earns, for example. Like there is really no way of getting ahead. So people, that's why like don't really push hard, and they just accept that they're gonna work until 65 and get their retirement from the government, and that's the mentality. When we say I want to retire at 40, which is like I'm not gonna stop working, but that's my goal. People are like, especially my husband's parents. How are you gonna do that? Good to dream, but I think in Australia it's really possible.
Oh, absolutely, and property investment being a vehicle. Eva, you must see, European and very similar story. Like the opportunity you have here.
Same story, and the same thing attracted me as well here. Like the life is so relaxed, people are so relaxed. Like I would never call you Phil if we were in France. You'd be Mr. Tarrant, and we would shake hands.
Like in a workplace.
I would not come in jeans and sneakers, and it's
formal.
Very formal, very different. It takes 20 years before you can be taken seriously in the
just a sort of conservativeness, and it's long histories and stuff. But if you think of places, France is very, very similar. Probably even more so in places like Germany and Austria. The formality around relationships is significant. And you still sort of have that in England as well in some ways, less formal, but it's still rigid.
It's drowning talents. Like it's pushing them back at the bottom of the pool when there are people that could shine a lot earlier in life. Yeah.
So the message to all our listeners out in Turkey and France, come to Australia, welcome. But the point is that what a great migrant story. So you're a Australian citizen now?
Yes, I am.
Brilliant. And when did you get your citizenship?
During COVID, it was 2020.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Great year.
Congratulations, welcome. You're an Aussie citizen, aren't you?
Yeah, 2020 years well.
But it's a great story, but your story is quite common. Australia is a country of migrants.
Yeah.
There's obviously Australia has a long history in terms of its people, but the more immediate history of the last couple of hundred years, largely migrants, driven by migrants, and we've had different migrants come at different times in our history. You think sort of subsequent to World War II, you had a lot of Greek and Italian migrants coming in, and they were the heartbeat of the nation. They got it moving, got it building, and subsequent to that, now more modern migrants, the same thing applies. I think everyone sees the opportunity, and if you're willing to roll up your sleeves and have a go, which is a very Australian thing to say, you make it happen, right?
Yeah.
And you guys, from the very small amount of info Eva shared, like you guys are doing well. Like it's really cool.
Yeah.
Really cool.
I cannot complain.
Yeah. So the friend that your best friend that you originally travelled out as students, did she stay? She in Australia?
No. Yeah, she wanted to come, but her husband is American.
Okay.
So
they live in America, do they?
Right now in Dubai, but I think eventually they're gonna move to the US. But I'm trying to convince her to come here
out.
too.
and culturally, I've sort of been in and around Turkey a bit, but culturally, do people like you getting ahead in Turkey? Like, would your peer group back in Turkey, maybe the friends that you grew up with, would they be like, oh, she's out in Australia now, she's got all these property and she's doing really well, and like is that a good thing, or people sort of want?
Yeah, it wouldn't be a good thing, but actually, like after this government changes in Turkey, like everyone I know left. Like there is not I don't have a single friend left still in Turkey.
Wow.
So they're all doing well, like around the globe. But yeah, it's not a thing to talk about in Turkey. Like if they would see you, it would be like, oh, look at her. Like a little bit like jealousy and like a negative thing.
So, like you don't talk about. Is it rude to talk about money in Turkey, or how much you have?
You cannot talk about those things.
Is that rude? Is that rude? And like you always were brought up saying, "Don't talk about money. It's rude." Now I do it for a living.
I feel like it's
like I don't even know you. And I'm asking like about money, right? But
yeah, there might be a bit of a religious background into that. And like there's a lot of limiting belief coming from religion as well, of money is root of all evils, or you should give the money to the poor. I think there's a lot coming from that, and the more a country or population is religious to whatever religion anywhere, I think the more it's difficult to get ahead and be open about it.
Yeah, particularly in certain religions, Islam, for example, where interest is something that can't be paid, right? Like there's Islamic finance is its own thing, right? So talking about money and interest, like I'm on an interest-only loan. Well, everyone wants an interest-only loan, right? But I'm always really curious about that. What's the sort of attitude towards property investment like in Turkey? Is that something people do? Like who owns the rental accommodation in?
Yeah, I don't think many like the typical thing is they would have their own place and they would have a maybe summer house, like somewhere on the coast that they would go like in the summer, and two properties. That's it.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And that's sort of quite normal and common.
Yeah.
To be fair, it's probably quite normal and common in Australia. It's only not all Australians invest in property, but those that do typically do pretty well. So I want to ask you about the portfolio, but I'm quite curious about what you do for work. But we'll have a chat about that. We'll just go to a quick break. Stay with us. Back in a moment. Welcome back, Phil Tarrant from Smart Property Investment. Having a chat with Eva and Gizem. Our guest today, hailing from Turkey, but now an Aussie citizen, investing in Australian property, which is good. So there's no limitations or restrictions now on what you can buy. So invest in property, you need to make money. So the bank is happy to lend you money. So what sort of work do you do? What's the professional background?
I work in a global tech company.
Okay.
Yeah.
What sort of work do you do there?
I'm like a product specialist.
Okay.
I work with top clients across Australia and New Zealand and help them with their marketing strategy.
Okay, cool. So you know marketing?
Yes, marketing, yes.
Do you think we market the Smart Property Investment Show very well? Or
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
You reckon?
I've been listening it really like a lot, so I think you're doing a great job.
Maybe we get some advice offline. So when did you start investing in property? What was the catalyst for you to say, now's the time?
I think we started like looking at property for principal PPOR. 2018, we had to wait until then because before PR I couldn't really get a loan, and also with my husband I just met in Australia, so like buying a house together, it's like more serious than getting married sometimes, and we just wanted to be sure that we are a good match. In 2018 we started looking to buy a house for ourselves in Sydney, but it took almost a year. To find a good one, because we've been looking at like northern beaches, and it was just going up. Like every week we would go, and like the places that we would check, the next week it was the price went up, and the auction price is like much higher, and we thought, maybe we should be looking at somewhere else, and then we started to focus on Shire. We spent 6 months every weekend, like going to the open houses, checking houses, like every day, like 6-7 houses. At the end, I think 2019, towards the end of 2019, we found a place and we started like that. For that one, actually, my husband was the initiator, because he was like, if we don't have a place in Sydney, I don't feel settled, and we really need a place. like, okay, let's do it. And we had the deposit and
there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I won't sort of ask you too much about your personal place of residence. But it sounds as though the process to do that, did you enjoy the process of looking
No.
at so many? Like, it can be really fatiguing.
Yeah,
right?
it was difficult.
And do you think you could have, if you had your time again, do you think you would have done it differently? You would have made more decisive decisions?
Yeah, like first of all, I think like we got a duplex. I think looking back, if we had went like bought a separate like standalone place, that would have been much better. Potentially using buyer's agent, like we didn't think like because we live here, like we thought like we can do it. And my husband is he's an engineer and he wants to have control about the whole process.
Engineers
That's why
are
he did
that.
like full research, like mapping all Sydney, like mapping where the transport will go, like where the house prices are changing, like full analysis. It took like also months to like do that. And from there we've been following like, okay, we could try this suburb, like, and driving those places. I think we spent so much time and the prices were going up and by that time. So if we would just probably get a buyer's agent and immediately go ahead with it, we would be in a better position.
Yeah, it's a pretty common story. Yeah. Buying a principal place residence probably a little bit different than investing because you're mostly connected with it. It's probably where you're going to sort of raise families and all those sort of things, right? It's a very different proposition. But yeah, you're not alone. There's every single first home buyer I think goes through a very similar journey of navigating and making all those mistakes. But you've got to make the mistakes in order to feel comfortable and confident in your decisions, right?
Yeah, exactly. And it's a good good process to learn, like how it works. Like when you're that involved, like I'm missing out on the auctions. you
actually went to the auctions and you're bidding, and the first bid is like beyond what your maximum was going to be. You just feel deflated.
Or like I remember there was like a pregnant lady and she was really emotional. Just increase it, or like, oh no, and we were so emotionally invested in that one. I remember afterwards we just went to a pub and like had beers and like to bury our sorrow.
But at least then when you finally get a place,
exactly,
you celebrate it, right? Yeah, you must hear that a lot with first-time buyers, Eva. Like,
it's exhausting.
Exhausting and fatiguing and all that.
And I
think
I feel like at the end people settle for a lot less than they actually had said no to in the previous 6 months because they just had enough. It's like whatever.
And that's why, like, when you see something, get it because, it's like everyone's done it when they've gone to sell a car and the first person that comes along and goes, I'll give you 20 grand for it. You go, nah, it's not enough. And then you always end up selling it for less.
Yeah,
you always do, right? And you need to be comfortable and confident in your decision making, but often if you over-engineer it and over-research, you can just put a handbrake on. And we've all done it, right? It's okay. It's pretty cool, but good work getting it finally done. That's really cool. And you're still there? You still got the same place?
Still living.
You can always sell it,
exactly.
Yeah. Is it done okay? Like, you're happy with the...
Not bad, but they're building a lot of duplexes around, so it's kind of limiting the growth a little bit. That's why I think, knowing what I know now, I wouldn't buy that place, but still, doing well.
And how did you find the whole financing thing here in Australia? Was it pretty straightforward?
Yeah, I think so, yeah. If you follow their rules, it's pretty straightforward. Yeah.
So did you meet Eva before or after you bought your principal place residence?
I wish I knew her.
So you ended up with a good friend, but who's also a mortgage broker. So that's
exactly.
a bit of an advantage. So well, let's talk about you as an investor, but we'll just go to another break. Stay with us. We'll get into that when we come back. Welcome back. Phil Tarrant, Smart Property Investment, chatting with Eva over at Finni Mortgages, and Gizem, who is our guest today, talking about her journey investing in property. But Eva, I haven't really asked you too much, but we've had an interest rate cut since last time we got together. Do you guys get instantly busy with people going, has my serviceability increased? Can I borrow some more? Can you sort me out? I was speaking to Rebecca, who we've had on the show beforehand, one of the brokers of Finni, pestering her just the other day around some stuff. So
there's a bit of pestering for sure of people.
Is everyone pestering? It was just me.
Not everyone, but those clients that have probably 2-3 properties that are maxed out, and they're just those
desperate for more.
They're just desperate for more, and it's like, well, this went down. I should be able to borrow a bit more. So it's like, yeah, you could borrow 200, now you're at 250. So
it doesn't really.
is it worth? Is it worth buying something for that price range? I don't know.
I don't know. I'm not a buyer's agent.
No.
I can't give that advice.
But yeah, there's a lot of people just and look, it's easy for us to check. We've got all the numbers. We can just adjust whatever has changed for them and let them know whatever extra borrowing capacity they have. But one thing that changed a lot though is CBA and their way of assessing HECS debt.
Yeah, I heard about this.
That makes a big difference. So if some of you there of my clients or non-clients have HECS debt and have been told no, there could be a very big yes there thanks to that.
I think it's now laid, so CBA, and I think the other lenders will follow, but I think if you're within the last year of your HECS repayment, they don't count anymore.
Yeah, and
they
we
take
just
percentage.
met with Macquarie this morning, and that's in their pipeline as well.
Okay.
So I think that will become a new thing, and APRA's got that on their desk, and in July.
These recommendations come down though, wasn't it, from... I can't remember who said, hey, let's look at this. And they've all just had 20% taken off their HECS debts, right?
Yeah.
Which can increase things.
Yeah, but in terms of servicing, doesn't matter how much is...
Doesn't change it.
It doesn't change.
Well, the debt's smaller and therefore...
No, but the repayments are the same.
Yes.
So it doesn't affect or change your capacity. But hopefully in July, APRA will be like, well, let's ignore HECS debt. It's not a liability. It's part of your assets to learn and grow.
So for those people who are inverted commas like me, pestering you, they're not. They're calling up and getting good value service. So we're having some fun there. But is the issue not equity? So they could probably raise the deposits. Is the problem the fact that the bank is saying you can't service the debt?
That's right.
It's that, right?
Yeah, people have sometimes heaps of equity, million, and they just can't access it.
Yeah.
Unless they sell.
Is that really there's no other way around this, yeah? Like to change your serviceability situation, you've either got to remove debt or
increase income.
Increase your income. They're the two levers.
Or move assets into trust.
Yeah, which we've spoken about. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that more people doing that now?
Yeah, I see that some. There's changes with trust as well. I think it's St. George Westpac came the other day and told us now it would be looked at and assessed at a commercial deal.
In trust.
So
resi.
We don't have the details of that, but that could mean very different assessment, different rates, different fees. What's going to happen there? We don't know.
Yeah, okay.
Very grey area at the moment.
Can you find out and come and tell us what's going on?
I know you love the
That's
trust.
the idea. Yeah.
Yes.
All the rates have been passed. All the rate cuts have been passed on.
Yeah, most lenders have passed on the rates. Some of them, though, have...
Did anyone not pass it on?
Yeah, some have passed on only 0.15 on certain products.
Who?
First Mac, for example.
Okay.
Yeah. However, there is really good, and I can't believe I'm saying that right now, but some banks are doing very good 1 year fixed that are probably quite interesting to take on.
In the fours?
Not in the fours, but in the mid fives.
But they're still saying there's maybe another 75 basis points this year, right?
Look, some banks are still at 6.5-ish.
Yeah.
So if you can get 5.6-ish.
After the rate cut. I've got to check my mortgage. Like mine should be under 6 now, I'm thinking.
So if it's an investment loan and there's no offset, I think that could be a good deal.
Yeah. Anyway, how are your mortgage, Gizem? They good? You happy?
Yeah, I think we will need to refinance.
I know someone.
Yeah. Me too.
Yeah. It's good to have a friend who's a mortgage broker.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just when and how you do it, right? Like,
Yeah.
what would be the reason of refinancing? How outside of your principal place of residence, can you give a sense of the portfolio? How many properties in your portfolio?
Yeah, we have, in addition to that, two more, but we just started buying last year. So
okay, 2 years a lot.
Yeah.
and yourself and your husband, who's driving the charge? Is that you? Is
Yes.
it? Yeah. And why is that? Is that something you've just gone? Like, I get this. I like it. I want it.
I really love property.
Yeah.
Like that's why I think we are great friends with Eva, because we love talking property together. Initially I didn't know much about even investing. Like I first started with like reading about stocks, and that was my main thing. But after meeting Eva and talking more about that and listening podcasts. I'm like, this is a great opportunity. Why didn't I realize this before? But my husband is more like balanced approach, and he is like more against, like, if something new, he's like really hesitant about that. So I had to put like together all the.
Did you have to put a presentation together?
Yeah, exactly. Like
pitch it.
yeah. First of all, I had to sell the idea that we can go with the buyer's agent.
Yeah. Okay.
He was like, okay, schedule some meetings, then we can have a chat. So I even asked him, like, which, like, can you recommend me? And like, we identify 5, and then I scheduled all this, and I said the pros and cons for each, and then he like likes to like ask a lot of questions to them, and we had finally, I convinced him on the buyer's agent side.
Yeah.
And then with the locations as well, he was like, I cannot like not have a control about this. I cannot put my destiny about like somebody else's hands.
It's really good to actually have that discipline, irrespective of the relationship. Business partners, it could be co-investors, which is what you are, and obviously you're married. So there's different iterations of your relationship. But to actually have someone who isn't just yes all the time is a really healthy thing, because it helps interrogate. And I need to do that. I've got to interrogate to a point where I'm comfortable, and then I'm happy to make decisions.
Yeah. I think it's good, because I'm more like, I want to go ahead immediately. Like, I'm really activation focused. Yeah, exactly. He's more like checking the numbers and questions everything. And if he sees that I don't like, I don't know, I can answer all his questions, and the buyer's agent can answer all the questions, he's like, okay, let's go ahead.
Okay. So where have you bought then?
We bought it in regional Queensland, in Rockhampton.
Okay.
The first property.
House?
House, yes.
Okay. How much you paid?
It was $650.
Okay.
Yeah.
3-bedroom.
4-bedroom,
house,
two bathroom.
Like a house, like a brick
exactly,
house in Rocky.
Large land as well.
Did you have to go and have a look at it, or
No.
did you? No. Okay. And what's it rented at? What's the yield like on it?
Yield is 5.6.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
pretty
right.
good.
So doing all right.
Yeah.
So it's not costing you a lot to hold that.
We had a lot of issues with that house. The first one, and after 3 months, I think we bought it. The property manager didn't do a good job. And when they were doing the regular inspection, they said, actually, who signed the contract is not living there. So it was completely different people living. And there were handprints on the walls, like holes in the walls. They just destroyed the house. And they didn't want to leave the place. We gave them like an order and stuff like that. And when they left,
Welcome
they
to property investing.
Yeah, and it was our like first month. It was like, what are we doing? It's just really made us question.
But you had insurance.
Insurance, like our it was much higher, so it didn't work. Like we paid it all. So
wow.
It cost us a lot. So.
Okay, wow. But it didn't tarnish investing. So
you've done it
we
are like, that's the part of the game. We need to accept it, and it's like when it happens, like it emotionally impacts you a little bit, but
yeah, move on.
Exactly.
And the second property?
Second property, we bought it this year, just after a year after the first one, in Melbourne.
Okay.
Yeah.
Great. Which suburb? You don't mind sharing?
It's called Hampton Park.
Okay.
Yeah.
You do well there.
Yeah, so close to Dandenong. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a house, also 4-2. Yeah.
And did you refinance the principal residence or the Rockingham property to do that?
Yeah, for a principal residence, and we used the deposit for both like properties from there. Yeah.
Wow. So you're happy you've done all this?
Yes, like we knew that before the interest rates drops, like it's a limited time and really good opportunity. So we really wanted to push hard.
Yeah.
But with my situation at work, and there is a lot of uncertainty, that's like blocked us for the third one. Otherwise, we were gonna go harder.
Go again.
But as soon as like I stabilize that, we will go hard.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That's ambitious.
Yeah.
So what's the goal? Like what do you want your portfolio to look like at the end?
In terms of like number of properties, I don't think about that way. Like more about the total, like the value of the properties.
Yeah.
I'm right now 35, and by 40, I want to be like in the financial independence stage. But our number is not huge amount. I think like we want to finish off our PPR, and outside of that, we want to have like maybe 3 mil, which is I think doable. Yeah, but if it would be me, I think I want to go like so many properties. My husband is like, it's so much effort. I cannot do more than 4, but I'm increasing the number. Just work on each time.
You'd be surprised how that changes. The number always changes.
Yeah.
Always changes. But it sounds like you got the right attitude, which is the important thing, and mindset. And you're comfortable around numbers. If you've done chemical engineering, you're obviously bright. So you should be able to, like, you know, understand the concepts and understand how to operate. And property largely is pretty simple, right?
Exactly.
You're gonna get curveballs thrown at you, but so what's next then would be refinancing again. You'll be using the team at Finni, no doubt. Tapping Eva on the shoulder. Are you Eva's a friend of yours, but you know, a broker as well. You're comfortable with the idea of Eva knowing your finances?
Like, I'm really comfortable.
So some people are sort of like, oh, you know, I don't want.
No, I'm open with the numbers. I know, like, we are on the same path, and she shares it with me too, and I don't see any issues with that.
You guys are like this cohort of Shire female investors. It's a lot. Like I reckon I could count 20 or 30 I know personally. Maybe you need like a little.
A group,
a group down there, you know, like find a good reason to get together and talk property. But it's pretty cool, you know. So, what would you say, Eva? You know, from the discussions and you know, all the talks you've had with Gizem, is like, what do you think makes her a good investor? What do you think maybe is holding her back a little bit? Let's start with holding her back first. Probably her friends. Yeah.
No, I think it's just a matter of obviously timing. So when I met her, she just had a home. She was ready to look at it, but was looking more in shares. I think she went into crypto and Bitcoin for
exactly.
some time.
That was my not good.
And I just share my experience with properties, and I guess, you know, doing this all day, every day. To me, it's so much more natural and easy to look at properties. So if you think about it, like she just did 2 investments in 2 years, ready for the third one. We've already talked about SMSF and other things. I think there's nothing really stopping her. The only thing that would stop her is borrowing capacity at some stage.
Yeah.
And she's already in the forefront of that, of, okay, how can I use trust and other things to make it work? So she's the real investor in that sense, that she already thinks 2 or 3 steps ahead. So it would be a matter of, you know, your income potential and what you and your husband are willing to do, and with children and lifestyle. And
you're still young though. You've got time. You know, it's
got 5 years before it, Tom.
Yeah, 5 years.
you got time, but and what I would say, having sort of spoken to lots of investors over the years, and this is not a gender thing. I'd say it's more of a migrant thing. That people who leave their country and step outside of that comfort zone to go into the unknown, something new, something different. Either you thrive in that environment or you retreat back to what you know. And you see a lot of people retreat back to what they know. But those people that thrive in that uncertainty and thrive in this environment where you're at the precipice of always not sort of being in control and out of control, it completely changes your mindset and your comfort level with uncertainty. You know, and if you can bottle that and capture that, it'll be a hugely powerful thing. Like, and it sounds like you certainly have done that. Like you're okay with the idea of potentially not being okay, because if you're not okay, I'm sure you could probably sort it out. Yeah. And that's it's built into migrants. You see it all the time.
And like looking back in the property history, I think Australian property always did well, and I think it will do well in the future. Like all the analysis shows that, and I'm pretty confident. I, as a person who invested a lot of money on crypto, property is a really safe bet for me.
Did you lose a lot of money on crypto?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Like I won't ask you how much, but you just bought at the wrong time and sold at the wrong time. Pretty
much.
Didn't
sell it. I think if I had still had them, like the company that I put it bankrupt,
Okay.
so I lost it like
Yeah,
that.
it is a lot more safe and stable. It's one of the great things also about investing in Australia, unlike Turkey. You know, you've probably
Yeah,
got
exactly,
a little bit more
yeah.
stability in
Yeah.
your government, and you know the
Yeah, exactly.
neighbourhood around here is probably a little bit less fractured maybe than what you see in other parts of you,
Yeah.
and that gives confidence as well
Yeah.
for investing here. But that's really cool. I'm happy you bought Gizem to have a chat. Yeah,
Female
it's,
investor.
Yeah.
Some greats.
how many other investors can we have a chat with from your cohort, or if you want to, if you live down in the Shire, come and have a
There's probably a few there for sure.
come and have a chat. That's really cool. So it's a waiting game at the moment until you get some continuity with what's happening sort of professionally, and then you go again as quickly as you can.
Yes, like before the interest rates really drop, I think, like talking with Eva as well, I think it's going to drop significantly. So it's a great time to invest. We don't want to miss that opportunity. We will go like immediately.
And would you use a buyer's agent again?
Yeah, 100%.
Would you use the same buyer's agent you used last time?
We will interview more.
Okay. So the first investment property versus second investment property, same buyer's agent?
Same buyer's
Okay.
agent. We are really happy with them.
Yeah.
But we just want to see like what else is out there. Yeah.
And do you know?
Optimize.
Do you know where you'd be investing? No, you're not really wed to it. Wherever the recommendation is for the.
Don't know, because this is gonna be more probably in trust, and with trust, like
I was going to say structural. So the first two are in personal names.
Personal names.
Yeah, okay.
That's why we will need to adjust our strategy as well. Probably a bit higher yields. Location wise, we don't know
Okay.
yet. Yeah.
So it all comes down, and you'll pull equity out again.
Yes, we have an offset account for primary place of residence, and we will reduce the like loan from there and take it as equity and use that.
Recycle.
That's not really increasing your debt, because if it's in an offset, it's savings, unless it's refinance money sitting in an offset account. So if you're able to keep your savings in a offset account and then use that offset account to invest, but again, obviously paying more.
No, because the thing is, if you use the money in the offset, she would pay more interest on a non-tax deductible debt. But if she used that money to reduce or even pay off your mortgage and re-access that money as an investment, then it becomes tax deductible.
So keep the money in the offset, refinance the principal place of residence, and the money that you use to deploy into property investment from your principal place of residence is a tax
as
deduction.
a new split for investment.
Okay, so that's why you need a good broker.
Yeah, exactly.
It makes a big difference, because you end up with the same amount of debt, but so much more tax deduction.
And you keep the money in the offset.
Well, it depends how much you've got there. And
the offset money will reduce because you pay off the loan.
Yeah, okay.
But yeah.
Depends how much people have in there and much they want to keep in hands for issues with the
They're the sort of
properties
stuff you
or
like working
buffers.
out, isn't it? Like, do you like those scenarios? What do I do? It's day to day for you, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think debt recycling is so underused, and people would just use the money in the offset, and it's just leaving so much money on the table.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Well, you can speak to Eva, no doubt. How do people track you down?
Finni.com.au, there's just a link there to book up appointments
chat.
straight in our calendar, so it takes 30 seconds. Yeah,
Pretty cool. And you have capacity, time,
yeah.
ready to that? Yeah.
Got a few brokers there ready to go.
Ready to go? There you go. That's cool. And you have to come back and see us when you buy the next property.
Yeah, definitely.
That's really cool. Really
Yeah, I also try to convince my husband about SMSF. He's really hesitant about that. That's my next.
Seems to be a
next
theme
goal.
here, and I just want to. And I've never met your husband. I just want to. I just want to point out. I haven't said anything bad about him. I think he's a very smart and shrewd guy who's very organised. So, but yeah, sounds like you guys.
He just like to balance things. He's like, we are already investing in property. Like super can stay in shares. I'm like, no, we are missing out. So yeah, I need to prepare a bit more presentation for that one too.
I'm sure you can get a PowerPoint out and try all the pros and cons. He doesn't listen to the podcast. Do you listen to the podcast when you're driving in a car somewhere?
Yeah. Like traveling to work. I
okay.
always listen to podcasts, and then I go to him like, I learned this one today. What do you think? He's like, okay.
Do you listen to any other podcasts than this one?
Yeah, this is the main one, but there are a few more.
cool.
Yeah,
There's so much
especially
info out
with the buyers. Some of the buyers agents, like that's how I decide like how they are
By their podcast.
by their podcast.
Do you reckon you can tell a lot about someone by how they sound and
Yeah, I
present?
think so. Yeah.
Oh, okay. But yeah. You got to it's not a bad litmus test, right? Everyone sort of does things differently, but
Yeah, actually, there's one of them you said, it sounds. I can't remember what you said.
Yeah.
I'm not
Don't
using
be
him.
nasty. Well, thanks for coming in, Gizem. I really
Thank
appreciate your
you.
time. Thanks for
Thank
being so open with your journey. And again, it's great. Like what you can actually achieve if you have the right mindset and take action. It's absolutely key. Like things don't
definitely.
happen by accident, right?
Yeah.
You've got to manufacture them. And I think the beauty of Australia is that you can make it happen. You know?
Australia is a great place to do that, and I think like for all immigrants out there, they should go for it and just learn about it, listen podcasts, read books, and once you start, it's easy. Not
go.
easy,
Just-
but
You gotta have the right
you can
people,
get
right?
there. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
have
You
the right
need to have a
people.
good team, but it's definitely doable, and you can get ahead.
Brilliant. Well said. Thank you. And thanks
you.
for everyone for tuning in. Remember, smartpropertyinvestment.com.au. You can track down Eva at Finni and her team, Finni, FINNI.com.au is, I think, where you can, that's the right address, yes. Our social media, you can find us there. And please, and I know Gizem's gone about to do this, is leave a great review on our channel, wherever she tunes into it, probably on Spotify or on the Apple podcasts, and tell your friends as well. And Eva, let's get some more chats from female investors.
Yeah,
Really
love
enjoy
it.
it. It's great.
It's nice. I
Really
love
good.
sharing good, successful stories like that. I think
Yeah,
it's
really good.
empowering.
Nice one. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. We'll see you again next time. Until then, bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The information featured in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into consideration your financial situation or individual needs and should not be relied upon. Before making any investment, insurance, tax, property or financial planning decision, you should consult a licensed professional who can advise whether your decision is appropriate for you. Guests appearing on this podcast may have a commercial relationship with the companies mentioned.